When a Muslim marriage breaks, it doesn't break overnight. It breaks slowly, with every ignored responsibility, every forgotten promise, every prayer missed, and every tear wiped in silence. Today's story is about a Muslim wife in the USA who planned a beautiful life, while her husband treated every day like a game. She begged him to think of tomorrow, but he only cared about today. She wanted discipline. He wanted freedom. She was tired of crying in sujud, asking Allah to change her destiny. Until one night, something happened that forced him to finally open his eyes. What was that moment that made him drop to the floor in tears? Stay with me till the end. She wanted a perfect life, but Allah had a better plan. Islamic emotional family story. Sarah had always believed that marriage was a beautiful journey of two hearts walking towards Jannah together. And when she married Ahmed, a charming Muslim man living in Dallas, USA, she thought Allah had gifted her the perfect partner for life. Yet she later realized that love alone was not enough when two people think in two different worlds. Sarah was a disciplined woman who organized every hour of her day, planned for the future, saved money, prayed on time, and hoped for children growing up in a home filled with Islamic values and dreams for success. But Ahmed was the opposite, a carefree man who loved video games, hung out with friends late into the night, spent money without thinking, skipped prayers often, and treated every new day like a random adventure without any responsibility. And as their marriage progressed, she felt like she was raising another child instead of living with a mature husband who should lead the family. Every morning, Sarah woke up early, prepared. Breakfast prayed for, made to-do lists, cleaned the house, checked work emails, but Ahmed would be sleeping, unaware of how much effort she put into maintaining the household. And when he woke up past late morning, he would scroll through his phone, laugh at silly videos, and forget that he had promised her to look for a better job, to improve himself, to be the man she could rely on. And this difference began planting a quiet pain in her heart that she tried to suppress, but couldn't ignore anymore, because every night ended in arguments and tears. Every day felt like a repeat of disappointment. And while Ahmed would shrug off the issues, saying, "Relax, life is too short to worry about everything," Sarah would remind him that life is short. That's why we must prepare for the Akira. But he would roll his eyes and say she worried too much. Their families were far away in another state, so they didn't have elders around to guide or counsel them, and Sarah felt emotionally alone. Despite being married, she would cry in her pillow each night, begging Allah to soften Ahmed's heart, to help him understand her pain, to realize that marriage is not a video game with restart options, but a sacred trust from Allah that must be protected every day. Yet her du'as seemed unanswered, and her patience grew thinner as her dreams of a peaceful Islamic home began to blur into frustration. One evening, after yet another fight about bills Ahmed forgot to pay, Sarah broke down and said she was tired of repeating the same battle, tired of being the only grown-up in the house, tired of watching her dreams die while he enjoyed life like a bachelor. And Ahmed, instead of understanding, yelled back that she was controlling and suffocating him, accusing her of trying to change who he was, making Sarah's heart shatter as she wondered whether she married a man who valued her feelings at all. Days passed with silent tension filling the apartment, like a storm waiting to break, and then came the night that changed everything. Ahmed was supposed to pick Sarah up from her friend Amina's house after a study circle on strengthening marriage in Islam. But he forgot, busy playing games and laughing with friends. So Sarah waited outside in the cold for nearly 2 hours, trying to call him again and again, but he didn't answer, and that was the first time she genuinely questioned their future, wondering if Allah wanted her to stay in this suffering marriage or choose peace alone. When Ahmed finally arrived, smiling casually like nothing was wrong, Sarah refused to speak, and he realized from her puffy red eyes that he had pushed her too far, so he attempted a joke to lighten the mood, but she only said, "Enough, Ahmed," with a voice that didn't sound like the Sarah he knew, a voice full of exhaustion rather than anger. When they reached home, she quietly packed a small bag, placed her wedding ring on the table, and said she needed time away to think whether she could continue with a man who didn't value her or the institution of marriage. And the sight of that ring turned Ahmed's heart cold with fear. For the first time, he realized the consequences of his behavior, and his voice trembled as he begged her to stay, promising he would change. But she gently pulled her hand away and said, "Words are not enough anymore. Prove it with action," leaving Ahmed in emotional shock. And the silence after she left was louder than any argument they had ever had. During the days she was gone, Ahmed felt loneliness stab him deeply. The house felt empty, the kitchen silent, the bed cold, the game console untouched because the joy in his world was missing. And for the first time, he prayed sincerely, crying in sujud, asking Allah to guide him, to save his marriage, to make him a man worthy of his wife. He visited the masjid daily, talked to the imam who advised him that a man who doesn't lead his home with responsibility and good character will lose the blessings of marriage and Allah's mercy. And those words cut into Ahmed's heart like a wake-up alarm from heaven. Meanwhile, at her parents' home, Sarah spent nights reflecting, thinking about the good moments they shared too, how gently he held her hand during nikah, how he smiled when she cooked his favorite biryani, how he always told her she was beautiful, and how he loved her despite the differences. But she reminded herself that love must be proven through action, effort, and consistency. Yet her heart still prayed for him, because faith taught her not to give up on people so easily. And deep in her chest, she believed if Ahmed truly changed for Allah, their marriage could be saved. One stormy night, Ahmed felt overwhelmed by regret and rushed to the masjid in the rain, begging Allah for forgiveness with tears streaming down his face. And at that moment, he received a phone call. Sarah was in the emergency room after collapsing due to stress and weakness. His heart dropped as he sped to the hospital, every second filled with fear that he might lose the love of his life because of his irresponsibility. And when he saw her lying pale in the hospital bed, all his mistakes rushed back in painful flashes, and he broke down beside her, holding her hand tightly while whispering, "I'm so sorry. Please forgive me." When she opened her eyes and saw his tears, she felt a spark of hope that maybe something inside him had finally awakened. And she softly said, "Marriage isn't about perfection, Ahmed. It's about trying together," making him vow right then that he would transform into a husband she could trust and respect. From the next day, Ahmed changed slowly but sincerely. He woke up for far before Sarah, left games aside, searched for stable jobs, attended Islamic classes to learn the rights of a wife in Islam, helped with chores, saved money, planned goals with her, and every night he would thank Allah for giving him another chance. Sarah noticed the changes but stayed cautious because promises had been broken before. Yet day by day, she saw consistency in his actions, and her heart began to heal as she realized he wasn't changing just to keep her, but because he wanted to grow for Allah. Months passed, their love revived with deeper understanding. Ahmed received a good job offer and surprised her by renting a new small home where they could start fresh. And when he handed her a new ring saying, "This time, I'll protect your heart like an amanah from Allah," tears overflowed from her eyes as she accepted, and they did a small dua together asking Allah to keep barakah, love, and mercy between them forever. Their relationship wasn't magically perfect. They still had differences. Sarah still loved planning everything, and Ahmed still enjoyed spontaneous fun. But now they balanced each other like the Quran teaches. They're a garment for you, and you are a garment for them, protecting one another, completing one another, and whenever fights happened, they solved them with patience, communication, and prayer. They began volunteering at the masjid, sharing their story to guide couples, reminding others that marriage is not about finding the perfect person, but striving to build a home that pleases Allah even when the journey gets hard. Years later, holding their newborn baby girl, Ahmed told Sarah, "Thank you for not giving up on me." And she whispered back, "Thank you for choosing to grow." And they kissed their daughter's forehead with gratitude, knowing the family they dreamed of was finally real, not because of planning alone or love alone, but because Allah held their hearts together when humans would have given up. And now, whenever Sarah looks back at the painful nights she cried alone, she sees them as blessings that push them toward Allah, strengthening their marriage with faith, patience, and purpose. Because a Muslim couple succeeds not when they live without problems, but when they return to Allah after every problem. This story shows that even when thinking differs and lifestyles clash, Allah can bring two hearts back, if both are willing to change for His sake. And in the end, it wasn't Sarah's discipline or Ahmed's carefree nature that saved their marriage, but Allah's mercy that filled the space between them with healing love. Dear family, if this story reached your heart even a little, then please support us so we can continue spreading Islamic reminders and powerful stories every day. Like, comment your thoughts, and share this video so more struggling couples can find hope in their marriage through Allah. And if you want more emotional Islamic stories, then subscribe to Deen in Minute and turn on the bell icon, because every share, every comment, every bit of support becomes Sadaqah Yariyah for you on the Day of Judgment. May Allah fill your home with love, peace, and barakah. Ameen.